The ownership of Tesla is now going up yet again, and this time it has nothing to do with Tesla raising prices. Tesla actually didn't do anything about it. They might be lowering prices, judging by what they've done in January, because here in the United States, the tax credit for Tesla has been cut in half once again on July 1st. So let's talk about what this means. What this means for their competition is Tesla going to be affected by this? And what they should do with their pricing? Should they leave it the way it is? Should they cut it as they did in January? We're going to talk about it all right now. Taking over the world, electrifying the world, E4 Electric. Welcome to E4 Electric, your number one source of unbiased electric car news. And if this is your first time here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button down there so you don't miss anything moving forward. And of course, boom, Patreon.com. Wanted to say thank you to all of my Patreons supporting this independent channel. And of course, I want to give a huge shout out to that dude with an amazing, amazing taste in men's shirts. All right, so let's talk about Tesla and, this is not surprise. I mean, we all know that after a certain amount of cars, 200,000 in the U.S., well, not cars, electric cars, a manufacturer is going to have 6 months and then have the incentive cut in half, in another 6 months and half, and then after that it gets phased out. Tesla has now about a year past the 200,000 car mark. So now it gets cut in half, and it's now less than $2,000 a month. But will this really affect sales? If anything, we can tell from Q2, and it's going to be announced in the next couple of days or so. It looks like if they don't set a new record, they will get very close. So it looks like right now it's not affecting it. It's not affecting from the last slash. You can say the Q1 poor sales were a result of a few other things, especially moving the sales overseas, and I'll give them that. But Q2 should be strong, and that means that the tax credit did not affect the sales, especially of Model 3. Now, for the Model S and Model X, I think, an extra couple of bucks is nice, but when you're buying a car for 70, 80, 90, $100,000, I don't think an extra $2,000 worth of credit going away is really going to stop you. I don't think it stopped people in the beginning of this year. The sales of Model X and Model X crashed, and not because of that. It's because it was very, very outdated, but now they're kind of climbing back up. Though Audi e-tron is kind of biting at them from the lower parts of the standings so far. We'll see what this month brings. But all eyes are really on Model 3 on this one, because Model 3's price, that's where you really kind of feel the effect of those extra $2,000. It is a more significant part of the car. So what is going to really happen? Let's talk about a couple of things here. Before that, of course, a quick reminder about Byton, our sponsor. Check out the all-electric M-Byte, the SUV that's coming to the US and Europe at the end of the next year. I suggest getting in line if you haven't already. It costs $0 to make a reservation with Byton. Over 50,000 of us already have. If for some reason you haven't, well, you're in luck. There's a link in the description of this video where you can do it in about 60 seconds. All right, let's talk about the, whether or not this extra $2,000, even less than that, is going to affect the sales of Model 3. One thing that I'm surprised people have not asked Elon during the, investor calls and media events and stuff like that, is, hey, what's happening with that queue? What's happening with the reservation queue? It was almost at 500,000 people at some point, but a lot of times they have struggled to fill some orders, especially, the ones that are on an upper level there in their 50s and 60s in terms of thousands of dollars. And then I don't know, how come there's only 2 to 4 week wait to get a Model 3 if you're ordering it right now? Because that's pretty much what it takes to make a car for Tesla. And if there were people who were waiting in line and now they're able to order, how come the wait is not 6 months while everybody who's in line is getting there? So it just looks like the quality of that of the queue is not what we thought it would be, and that's definitely going to make Tesla having to consistently get new buyers all the time. Now, another thing that we should mention is that this is going to affect sales in another way, because the more Model 3s are out there on the road, the more of them are going to become available for second-hand sales, right? People are going to be getting rid of them at some point, maybe upgrading, maybe getting another one. Now, those cars essentially are cheaper cars because people who bought them back in the day got either the full or half of the credit of tax credit, and therefore they paid less for the same car that people would be paying right now for the same car because of the tax credit being less. So those cars, obviously, the used value of them would be less as well. So the gap between the used Model 3 and the new Model 3 would be even wider, and that might actually prevent people from buying the new ones. And that's how it's going to affect sales, at least in a small way. Of course, another thing that's coming, and I know there's going to be a gap, but Model 3 sales in Europe, which are absolutely kicking butt, they're still ramping them up there, and they probably have a good few more months worth of demand of people not only waiting right now, but I think people seeing those cars on the road, seeing their friends getting it, and kind of saying, oh, I wasn't really thinking about a Model 3, but now that I actually see it in action, I see my friends enjoying it, they're loving it, switching from BMWs and Mercedes, I want one too. So I think they have a few months of that, but then we're going to be switching to sales in China, where I am assuming the Model 3 is going to be built in the beginning of 2020 without having to pay any of those tariffs, and that should really kick their sales in the next year in China, especially competing with local Chinese companies that don't have those tariffs, and they're making tons and tons of electric cars because China has been pretty generous. As a matter of fact, they've been the leader in electric car sales and friendly environment for electric cars. So I think there's some challenges, but I really don't think this couple extra $1,000s that now going away, even for the Model 3. And don't forget, most of them are not people buying them for $35,000. Most of them buying them in their 40s and 50s. Compared to that, the $2,000 or less than that, it's about 18 something something. Is really not that big of deterrence, as you know, and I'm going to make a different video about this. I've been considering a Model 3 for some time, and even though every time I knew I would have to pay more, in the next quarter, that wasn't really something that stopped me or helped me, making a decision in terms of getting it. I still don't have one. But let me hear from you guys. Do you think this is something that's going to make Tesla struggle? Would it make a difference if you would be buying this car? Would in any way you would say, well, I could have bought this Model 3 with an extra $5,000 off or whatever, but now I can't. So therefore, I'm just not going to, period. Or do you think it's just good decision is going to be, listen, this is how much it costs right now. I'm grateful for any money that I'm going to be getting back from the federal government. I'm going to go and move forward with my purchase because I think this is the right time for me to buy this car and I have the money and so forth. Let me know if that is a more likely attitude, and let me know, do you think Tesla should lower the prices for the Model 3, which is going to be a little bit challenging, with them struggling to make the profit? Or should they just kind of go with it and say, listen, we priced this car from the very beginning to be compatible on this market, which I think it is. And then that's why we're going to keep going. All right. While you're doing that, don't forget to get on our VIP list where you get bonus stories every Saturday. And it's free. Second free thing that you get in the description of this video, in addition to reserving Python. e4electric.com/VIP is where you can find it. I forgot to switch the slide. Of course, thank you to all of my Patreons. I am looking forward to your comments in the same comment section as always down there. Other than that, see you next time, and remember to stay charged.